Let's start with a few very basic approximations to your theory in collective intelligence. So, you define in your book collective intelligence as something that can be defined and shared as shared knowledge that exists everywhere, that is constantly measured, coordinated in real time, and that drives the effective mobilizations of several skills. Uh, this means that collective intelligence is not something exclusive to human beings. So I would like you to explain us how does human collective intelligence difference with from other species collective intelligence?
Yes. You're totally right to say that collective intelligence is not specific to the human race. We know that the ants, the bees, and in general all the social animals have a certain kind of collective intelligence. They solve problems together, and they will not, these social animals, they will not be able to survive alone.
Okay.
And this is, of course, also the case with the human species. We are not able to survive alone, and we solve problems together. But there is a big difference that is related to the use of language. Animals are able to communicate, of course, but they don't have language. I mean, they cannot ask questions, they cannot tell stories, they cannot have dialogues. They can just communicate about their emotion, their fears, and so on. So there is the language that is specific to the humankind, and with the language you have, of course, a better communication, so an enhanced collective intelligence.
Okay.
And you have also all that comes with this linguistic ability, that is the technology, the complexity of social institutions, like law, religions, moral, economy, all these things that animals don't have. So this ability to play with symbolic systems, to play with tools, and to build complex social institutions creates a much more powerful collective intelligence for the humans. And I would say that there are two important features that comes from the human culture. The first is that the human collective intelligence can improve during history, because each new generation can improve the symbolic systems, the technology, and the social institutions. So there is an evolution of human collective intelligence. And of course, it is a cultural evolution, it's not a biological evolution. And also, and finally, maybe it's the more important feature of human collective intelligence, it is that each unit of the human collectivity has an ability to reflect, to think by itself. We have individual consciousness that, unfortunately for them, the ants don't have. So the fact that the humans have an individual consciousness creates, at the level of the society, something that is bigger and more powerful. So that's the main difference between human and animal collective intelligence.
Okay. And also because you were saying that with each generation collective intelligence improves, it has to do maybe a little bit with something related with the language. That's the writing, and after that, the possibility of storing knowledge, right? So we can use it.
There is there was a certain kind of transmission of knowledge in the oral cultures, but of course, when we invented writing systems, you can accumulate much more knowledge to transmit to the next generation. So with the invention of the diverse writing systems, and then with the improvements of the writing systems, like the invention of the alphabet, or the invention of the paper, or all these, or the improvement of the notation of the numbers, all these things expands human collective intelligence. And finally, as everybody knows, there has been the invention of the printing press and then the electronic media.
Yeah.
So the ability to, for example, build libraries, to build scientific coordination and collaboration, the communication that is supported by the telephone, the radio, the television, and so on, makes a human communication and, of course, human collective intelligence more powerful. And I think that the main challenge that our generation and the next generation will have to
deal with,
face
is
to take advantage of the digital tools, the computers, the internet, all the smartphones and so on, to discover new ways to improve our cognitive abilities, our memory, our communication, our problem-solving abilities, our abilities to coordinate, to collaborate, and so on.
Okay. Specifically regarding that enhancing of some human abilities, I wanna brought into the conversation something you told Howard Rheingold in an interview he conducted with you. You mentioned that every device and technology that have the purpose of enhancing language also enhance collective intelligence, and that at the same time have an impact on cognitive skills such as memory, collaboration, and the ability to connect with one another. Taking this into account, the first question would be, it is said today that the enhancement of cognitive abilities manifests in different ways. One of them is fandoms or wikis, and another extreme is crowdsourcing projects that are created with the intent of finding effective treatments for serious illnesses. The question would be, do you consider that every one of these manifestations contribute in the same way towards the expansion of collective intelligence, or would you establish a difference between kinds of collaboration and stuff?
Okay, maybe the most important sector where we should put a particular effort is scientific research and learning. So, because we are speaking about knowledge, so the most important is the creation of knowledge and the dissemination of knowledge, or more generally, the notion of learning, individual learning and collective learning. So, today there is a transformation of the communication in the scientific community. More and more journals are open and online. People are doing virtual teams that communicate by the internet. People are using big amounts of digital data, and they are processing these data with computing power.
Yeah.
So we already see, we can already witness this augmentation, but we are just at the beginning of this new approach. Also, in the case of learning, I think it's very important that we recognize the emergence of new ways of collaborative learning online.
Yes.
Where people who want to learn are helping each other, are communicating, are accumulating common memories where they can give and take what is interesting for them. And you know, this collective learning is not limited to the schools. It also happens in all kind of social environments. We could call this knowledge management, and there is an individual or personal aspect to this knowledge management. Some people call this the personal knowledge management. So it's a process that can be decomposed into, for example, choosing the right sources on the internet, filtering these sources, categorizing the information, doing synthesis, sending this synthesis on social media, being attentive to the feedback, continue the conversation, find new sources, and so on. You see, so this is
like establishing networks as well, right? Like
all this is done online.
Yeah, and I believe that each generation is a little bit more self-thought, and it's this culture of do it yourself is taking over in the means of getting the knowledge you want or you need.
Yes, we have to realize that learning is always an individual process, okay? At its core, someone has to learn. You cannot learn for someone else. You can help another people to learn. And this is teaching, in fact. But the learner is doing the real work, okay?
Yes.
And then, if the learners are helping each other, you have a process of collective learning. Of course, it works better if all these people are interested in the same topics, or if they are engaged in the same activity, of course. So this is something that is very general and that is augmented by the online communication. So it happens also at the political level, okay?
Yes.
And I would say that at the political level, democracy is enhanced by, it's more an augmented deliberation, because people can discuss very easily on the internet, and also it's an enhanced coordination, or let's say for demonstrations, things like this. So, but it also happens at the level of the market. You know, there is this whole new thing of social media marketing and so on. So the general process of learning, collective learning augmentation, is something that is very general.
Okay, I get it. I think that something that we should talk about is that with the passage of time, collective intelligence relies more and more on the computers or the machines, and this is something that has worried some group of people. What is your stance in the wake of this reality? The collective intelligence becoming more artificial in some way.
Okay. There is a process of artificialization or technicization of cognition in general that is very old. It began with the writing, with books. It's already a kind of externalization or objectification of memory, and it has been. A library is also something that is completely material, completely technical, and without libraries, we would be much less intelligent.
Yeah.
Okay? So we are not going to be against libraries because instead of being a pure brain, it's just paper and ink and buildings and index cards and so on. So we are not going to be against computers or against the internet. It's exactly the same kind of reasoning, okay? It's just that it is another technology, more powerful, but it's the same idea. Yes. It's an augmentation of our cognitive ability, individual and collective. So it's absurd to be afraid of it. Just the opposite, to be happy. And I would like to. We have to distinguish very clearly material support and the text. Okay, a text can be just in your mind, in your brain, if you want. In fact, in your brain, you have only neurons. You have no text. It's in your mind that the text is, okay? But the text that is in your mind can be projected on paper, okay? It is, of course, it's projected in a static way, but in a way that cannot erase. So it's interesting. You can also project the text in a computer network. In this case, it cannot erase, and in addition, it is interactive and it can easily be shared with others. So, even the fact that the paper is less and less involved is not a real problem, because what is important is not the paper, it is the text.
The start, yeah. Yeah, I get it. And ultimately, all this technology is human creation, so you couldn't make a separation between one and the other.
The one and the other. What are the one and the other?
Between the human and the machine, because it's a human creation ultimately.
Of course, there is no machine without humans, and I don't think that there is any risk of machines taking the power, because when there is a bug, if there is no human intervention, the machine dies.
Yes.
And there is nothing to do. Without us, the machines cannot do anything.
Yes, I get it. I want to talk about right now a little bit about IEML, and I want to start by mentioning that you said before that what is defined today as the semantic web, more than being based on semantic principles, is based on logic principles. According to these ideas, this represents some roadblock in making the most out of the possibilities offered by the digital media. And as an alternative to this, you propose the information economy metalanguage. Could you elaborate on the basic differences between the semantic web and the IEML?
Okay, it's a very technical subject, and I cannot explain it in 5 minutes.
Yes, I know.
But basically, the so-called semantic web, in fact, people now call it the web of data, and it's a better word for it. The semantic web is based on well-known principles of artificial intelligence that were developed in the 70s, the 80s of the next century. Okay? It was just adapted to the web.
Okay.
But basically, you have a well-organized database, and you have rules to compute the relations between the different parts of the database. Okay. And these rules are mainly logical rules. So it is good old artificial intelligence based on logic. IEML works in a completely different pattern. You have, let's say, as many data as you want. Okay. All the data that are on the web, data that are not in particular standards and so on. And you categorize these data in IEML. Okay. IEML is a language. So there is not a computer language. It is an artificial human language.
Okay.
So you can say, I don't know, the sea or the sky or a bottle or a human being or a fruit or anything. There is a word in IEML. Okay. There is no words in the semantic web.
Okay.
It does not work like this. It's not a language. And in this artificial language that is IEML, every word is in semantic relations with other words of the dictionary.
Okay.
So all the words are intertwined by semantic relations that are perfectly defined. And then when you use these words to create sentences or to create texts, you create new relations between the words, grammatical relations between the words. Okay? And from a text written in IEML, you have algorithms that make automatic deductions of all the semantic relationships between the words inside the sentences, from one sentence to the other, and so on. So you have the whole semantic network inside the text that is automatically computed. And even more, you can compute automatically the semantic relations between any text and any library of text. So the text creates automatically its own semantic relations with all the other texts. And this text in IEML can also translate automatically itself in natural languages.
Okay,
like
I get
in
it.
Spanish, or in Portuguese, or in French, or in Chinese, or in Arabic, and so on. So, when you use IEML to categorize data, you create automatically semantic links between the data.
Okay.
With all the openness and the suppleness and the ability to say exactly what you want that a language can offer you.
Like IEML ultimately will make more comprehensible and transparent what the way we interact with the information or with text and content, right? Somehow.
Exactly. You can categorize any kind of content, images, music, and of course software and articles and websites and books and any kind. Okay, you can categorize this in IEML, and in categorizing in IEML, you are at the same time creating links between all the data because of the links that are internal to the language.
Okay, I get it. So, in a very primitive way, could you say that the meta tags or the hashtags and the Twitter lists are a precedent to IEML?
Yes, exactly, because I have been inspired by the fact that people are already categorizing data. They began to do this in the so-called social, delicious. How do you call it?
Yeah, delicious. Yeah.
Delicious is called social. When you.
Oh, when you, yeah, like a curation. I don't.
Yes. So, in fact, any act of curation today goes with an act of categorization or an act of tagging. And you do this very often on Twitter, and now you can do it on Facebook, on Google Plus, on YouTube, and so on. So in fact, people are already doing this, or on Flickr and so on. But the tags have not today this ability to interconnect with other tags
Yes.
and to create a big a consistent semantic network. And in addition, all these tags are in different natural languages and so on. But from the point of view of the user, it's the same action.
Okay.
It's just that the tool will be more powerful.
I get it. So, what would you say will be the IEML initial array of applications, and when could we start experimenting with them?
Okay, this is very difficult for me because the inventor does not know what will be the applications, but I hope that the main applications will be in the creation of collective intelligence games. Games of categorization and evaluation of data.
Okay.
That will help, like a collective curation, that will help people to create a very useful memory for their collaborative learning. I think that it's a kind of enhanced knowledge management. This, for me, would be the most interesting. And of course, in a interlinguistic, intercultural, transcultural, translinguistic environment.
Yes, I think so. When you mention the difference between languages and in which way IEML could help or enhance the ability that today have the hashtags and the meta tags, I also think it will be amazing. Now I would like to ask you some things related to ethics and collective intelligence. You have referred recently to managing information and big data as one of the phenomena that could take collective intelligence to a whole new level. You've mentioned as well that in actuality, this kind of information processing, is it's an activity that only powerful institutions can do, such as government and corporations, and that only when the capacity to read big data is democratized will there truly be a revolution. Would you say that IEML will have a key role in this process of democratization, and why?
Okay. I think that there are two important problems with big data analytics. In fact, we say big data because it's the buzzword, let's say, but in fact it's data analysis or data mining, if you want, how to extract knowledge from data. First, we have more and more data every day. We have to realize this. And second, the main producer of this immense flow of data is ourselves. Okay? We, the users of the internet, we are producing this data. So currently there are a lot of people who try to make sense of all this data. So you have two avenues. The first is the avenue that is more scientific. In natural sciences, they have a lot of data, like genetic data, data from the big instruments of physics or astronomy and so on. And also something that is relatively new, the big data in human sciences. And this is called digital humanities.
Okay.
So you take data from, social media, and you try to make sense of this from a sociological point of view. Or you take data from libraries that are digitized and you try to make sense of this from a literary point of view, and so on. This is one application. Second big way of applications is in business, in administration, public administration, and business. And you have a lot of companies that are trying to sell their services to companies and to governments. I would say that there are two big problems with this landscape. The first is related to the methodology. Okay. Today, we use mainly statistical methods and logical methods. It's very difficult to have a semantic analysis of the data. Okay. Why? Because we don't have a semantic code. Okay, because everything that is analyzed is coded before it is analyzed. Okay, so you can code quantitatively, and you have a statistical analysis. You code logically, and you have a logical analysis. Mm-hmm. So you need a semantic code to have a semantic analysis, but currently we don't have, and I think that IEML will be this semantic code. The second problem is the fact that this analysis of data is currently in the hands of very powerful or rich players like big governments, big companies. It is expensive, okay, and it is not easy to do. You need to learn to code. You need to learn statistics. It's not easy. So I think that with IEML, people will be able to do, because they will be able to code semantically the data, they will be able to do semantic analysis, and also because they will be able to manipulate this code in natural language, it will be open to everybody. And of course, in my mind, the tools will be open and free. Okay. So I think that the famous revolution of big data is just at its beginning of the beginning. Okay, it will be in the coming years and decades. There will be much more data and much more powerful tools to analyze this data, and it will be more democratized.
Okay, I get it. About that, democratizing big data literally implies that anyone could use it, no matter to which end they see it. What are the risks? No matter what end. I'm going to repeat. Democratizing big data literally implies that anyone could use it, no matter to which end they see it. So the question is, what are the risks of this democratization process and of collective intelligence as we know it?
Okay, it will be first an augmentation of intelligence, because if you can analyze the data, you can analyze the phenomena, because you have the phenomena, then you have data, and then you code the data to analyze them, and then
get there.
You have the understanding of the process that goes through the data and finally to the phenomena. Okay, so you'll have a better understanding of the phenomena.
Yes.
So this is just an augmentation of intelligence, and it will be an augmentation of collective intelligence, because people will be able to develop and to dig into very different point of views on the data, because of course we will be free to categorize the data as we want. So it will be a kind of perspectivist analysis, and these completely different point of views will be able to communicate, because they will use the same language. We use the same language. It does not mean that we say the same thing, okay? But we understand each other. So there is an ability to make comparisons. And finally, people will be able to communicate via different natural languages. So it will augment collective intelligence.
Okay. So, do you think that the situation...
I will say even better, not only it will augment collective intelligence, but it will create a reflexive collective intelligence. Because as the data are coming from the people, we will be able to make sense of what we are doing together. So to have a kind of a mirror of our collective cognitive processes. This is the real next step.
Okay, I get it. And just to end this interview, I would like to analyze a local situation for me. In this interview I mentioned before, conducted by Howard Reingold, you define collective intelligence as a synergy between personal and collective knowledge. As an example, you mentioned the curation we already talked about, that we as users do in social media, and by tagging and all this, then that so many times serves as a resource material for other ones. Regarding this particular issue, I would like to analyze the Venezuelan case. During the last few months, Venezuela has suffered an important information blackout, a product of the government's monopolized grasp of the majority of the media outlets, the censorship efforts made by the state's organisms, and the self-imposed censorship of the last independent media outlets of the country. As a response to this blockade, Venezuelans have taken upon themselves to stay informed by invading the digital space. In a relatively short period of time, various non-standard communication networks have been created, verified source lists have been consolidated, applications have been developed, and a sort of ethics codes have been established in order to minimize the risk of spreading false information. Based on your theory on collective intelligence, what reading could you give to this phenomenon?
You have done the response. I have nothing to say. Of course, I'm against any kind of censorship, and I think that not only in Venezuela, in fact, but in a lot of different countries, you have governments that try to limitate free expression for political reasons, and the people that are politically active and that are not pro-government try to organize themselves through the internet. And I think that let's say the new environment that is created by social media, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and so on, YouTube, the blogs, the apps that help people to find very easily the needed information. This whole new environment helps a lot the coordination and the discussion inside these opposition movements. And it's totally part of this political aspect of this augmentation of collective intelligence. I think, again, we are at the beginning of something. Already we can see that a lot of authoritarian regimes don't like the internet because it is an augmentation of the freedom of expression. So we should continue. There is no doubt about this. And I strongly encourage people to defend their rights to free expression. It's a very, very basic human right. And I think that with the internet in general, we have a very good tool to augment this freedom of expression. Of course, we have to fight, to maintain this ability, and to keep this tool in our hands.